Hi everyone, and welcome back to Travelweek webinars. My name is Megan Griffith, and I'm the Marketing and Production Specialist here with Travelweek. Today we have a very exciting webinar for you all discussing selling Australia and how to become an expert at that. With all the amazing experiences available in this destination, this webinar will showcase all the exciting options you can offer to your clients. Before I introduce our panelists for today, I'm just going to touch on a couple of housekeeping items. Firstly, if you want to say hello, let us know where you're tuning in from, or you're having any technical issues, just use the chat box function for that. If you have any questions, which we will be addressing at the end of the webinar, please just use the question and answer box and we'll be able to touch on those and make sure we don't miss anything. And for prizing today, agents that stay until the end of the webinar will be entered to win one of two $50 Visa gift cards from giftcards.ca. So make sure to stay tuned until the end to be entered for that. So now let's get started with introducing our speaker for today, Paul Larcher, Account Director Canada for Tourism Australia. Hi, Paul. How are you doing today?
Hi, Megan and all the agents. I'm doing really well. Thanks. How are you?
Very good. So excited to have you on.
Great. So our slogan is "There's nothing like Australia," and I'm sure after you watch my 35 minute presentation, you're going to agree there's nothing like Australia. So I'm going to jump in. We've got a lot of ground to cover. It's kind of hard to put a webinar together when you don't really know your audience and their level of knowledge about Australia. So I hope I've got a good mix for you today. So we're going to talk a little bit about the new protocols about entry into Australia. We're going to talk a little bit about the basics of selling Australia, some of the hurdles, why people love to go to Australia. We're also going to talk about some updates. I picked a few updates about Sydney because it's basically, for most people, the gateway into Australia. So I've just picked a few new things. And then we're going to finish off with, I don't know if you can see my shirt, talking about the Aussie Specialist Program and how it's evolved quite a bit and has been relaunched. So I'm going to stop my video camera so my beautiful face doesn't distract you from the beauty of Australia. And then we'll come back on the camera to finish off. So let's jump right in. There we go. I was moving at first. So first, I'd like to start off by an acknowledgement of country. Sharing Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders history, heritage, and culture is a key part of Tourism Australia's focus. In doing so, we acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea, and community, and we pay our respects to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander elders, past, present, and emerging. So before we go any further, let's talk about the good news. Yay, finally, after 2 years, Australia's international borders are open to fully vaccinated ETA visa holders. So from February 21st, Australia has been welcoming back fully vaccinated travelers. So there's a return of leisure visitors, business travelers, students, and other visitors to Australia. So travelers who are fully vaccinated with a Therapeutic Goods Administration approved vaccine will not have to quarantine on arrival. However, please note that some states and territories have specific requirements for visitors arriving from overseas. And like everywhere in the world, the situation is fluid. So please always refer to the latest advice for more details. And we have a lot of information on our consumer-facing website, australia.com, and also on our Aussie Specialist website, aussiespecialist.com. And I'll throw the email addresses up on the end for you if you want to jot them down. So visa holders who are not fully vaccinated still will require a valid travel exemption to enter Australia and will be subject to state and territory quarantine requirements. So a few things to note. All passengers are still required to complete an ETA visa before traveling to Australia, which was also the case pre-pandemic. Unfortunately, Border Control have removed the option for agents to issue these through their GDS systems. So these have to be applied for by your consumer or your client through the website address shown on your screen. The cost remains $20 Australian, and you can pay by credit card, and it doesn't take long to apply. In addition, because of COVID, travelers are now also required to complete an Australia travel declaration. This is where your clients will answer questions about their health and can provide uploads of testing and vaccination documents. The DPD is available here at the link shown, homeaffairs.gov.au. And from March 1st, there is also an app version of this available, so you can do it on your phone. The declaration can be accessed a week before travel, but cannot be completed until 3 days before travel. And by the way, just so you are familiar, the federal definition of being fully vaccinated is 2 shots or a single shot of Johnson & Johnson. This is the requirement to enter the country. And I get a lot of people asking if people need a booster. At this time, a booster is not required to enter Australia. So let's talk about getting to Australia. Australia is obviously a long-haul destination. It's probably one of the biggest hurdles a travel agent might face when it comes to selling Australia with some clients. Of course, for those clients who are concerned about flying long haul, especially if they have to have a connecting flight to their international departure point, which makes the journey even longer, a stopover may be an option to break the journey. And of course, there are many options to choose from, like Vancouver, LAX, San Francisco, Houston, Chicago, whatever. Personally, I like to just get on the plane, make my connections, get to Australia. I find that if I've ever done a stopover, it just kind of prolongs the journey even longer. And besides, you're excited to get to Australia. So stopping over, just like I said, to me, it just doesn't break up the trip nicely. I'm not going to get into route details specifics because, again, they're constantly changing due to the pandemic. However, of course, there are many convenient gateways in North America from which to book your clients, such as Chicago, Houston, San Francisco, LA, and of course, Vancouver. Flying times vary depending on the route taken, but generally from North America's West Coast to Brisbane, it's about 14 and a half hours. Excuse me, Sydney is about 15 and a half hours. And you can also fly via Auckland on Air New Zealand with a short 2 or 3 hour stopover, and then complete the trip in about 19 hours total. 2 benefits of flying this way. One is a lot of travel agents and consumers love Air New Zealand and don't mind the stopover. The other benefit of going through Auckland is that if you've got clients who are flying into Sydney, for example, and then have an onward connection domestically, if you're not aware, Sydney International Airport is different than the domestic terminal, and they are not side by side. You have to get on a transfer bus, and you basically go to the other side of the airfield to the domestic terminal. So it adds quite a bit of connecting time. Plus, it's a bit of an inconvenience for some people. So if you're flying into Auckland, you can get a flight straight from Auckland, probably to your client's preferred final destination. So you can go Auckland, Adelaide, Auckland, Melbourne, Auckland, Brisbane, for example, and avoid that transfer in Sydney. Australia versus the US, or you could probably change this out to say Canada as well. We say size matters. The main point I want to stress about selling Australia is that it's a big continent. Because it's essentially an island, people think that it tends to be small, and a lot of people make the mistake of thinking you can see most of the country in a couple of weeks, which of course you can't. As the slide on your screen illustrates, you can drop the continental US on top of continental Australia, and they're basically the same size. So at Tourism Australia, we say a rule of thumb is that we suggest for every 2 weeks, that's about enough time to see a combination of 3 places. So for example, the iconic Sydney Rock and Reef, which is Sydney, Uluru, or the Red Centre, and then the Great Barrier Reef, like Cairns. Or you could do like Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide, for example. So just remember, it's your client's vacation. It's not a fam trip. You don't want to cram as much or too much into an itinerary. You want them to have a relaxed and enjoyable time. But I know the pushback is people say, well, I'm flying all that way. You know, I want to see as much as possible. Excuse me. But the good news is that Australia has a really high repeat factor. Once they go to Australia, they're going to love it. They're going to love the wildlife and nature, the coastal and aquatic activities, the food and wines. So they're going to love all aspects of Australia, and they're going to come back and want to go again. It's a big ticket item, so they probably, or they may not go the following year, but maybe a year after they may decide to go back again. So that is great for them. It's great for you because you'll get the repeat business. And of course, Australia is a big ticket item. So, and most people book stuff in advance, all the activities and accommodations. So again, you make commission on all that. And the repeat factor is actually 62%. So again, your clients will go back. Again, to illustrate the size of the country, I'll just quickly show you the domestic flying times. So flying across country from Sydney to Perth takes about 4.5 hours, which is similar to New York, LA, Toronto, Vancouver. Flying from Sydney up to Cairns, gateway to the Great Barrier Reef, is about 3 hours. Flying from Sydney to the Red Centre, where you'll find Ayers Rock, or what it's called now, Uluru, and also Alice Springs, that takes about 3.5 hours. And flying from the south, state of Victoria, Melbourne, up to Darwin, the top end, it takes about 4.5 hours. So also getting around, a couple of other options. Of course, getting around Australia is part of the experience. The journey that your clients will take, traveling from place to place, is half the fun, we think. Excuse me, I got a frog in my throat. So an option one, of course, is driving. Obviously, this gives travelers the freedom and flexibility to travel where they want and when they want. Driving in Australia is relatively easy. You just have to remind your clients that we drive on the left-hand side. I get this asked quite a few times, but people often ask if the roads are paved. And yes, they are. Even if they travel to the Red Centre and your clients are driving from like Uluru to Alice Springs, very well marked and paved. Flying, of course, is a great option if they have to cover a lot of long distances in a short period of time. It's something that you can't avoid. Access to international and regional airports is, of course, very easy. There are numerous airports everywhere. And flying within Australia is often cheaper than what we experience here in Canada. Coach touring, I probably don't have to go into detail about this, but of course there are numerous reputable coach touring operators in Australia. Different companies suit different passenger types. Coach touring, of course, offers great value for money because it includes the transport, the accommodation, sightseeing, some meals. You pay it all up front. You get commission on the whole thing. And also coach touring is a great option for solo travelers. And let's not forget rail. There are great rail systems in Australia, and Australia is home to 2 really iconic train journeys. And it's a really fantastic way of traveling between cities. 2 of the most popular offered are by the Great Southern Rail, who operate these 2 trains. One is the Indian Pacific, which travels between Perth and Sydney, east to west, west to east, and via Adelaide. Also the GAN, which travels north-south, so between Adelaide and Darwin, via Alice Springs. And an interesting fact, well, I think it's interesting anyway, that about 70% of the passengers who travel on the trains in Australia are actual Aussies. It's not like, for example, if you book or on the Rocky Mountaineer, where you're going to find like probably 85% tourists. There, it's the opposite. Like people actually do take the rail systems, and it's obviously a great way to get to know Australians and find out more about the country. Another popular question that we get asked is temperature. So there are basically two, I'll show you with my pointer, two different zones within Australia, and they're bisected by the Tropic of Capricorn. So above the line, and the line basically bisects the red center, Uluru and Alice Springs, but above is the tropical zone, below is the temperate zone. So we're going to talk about the temperate zone first. The summer, and again, obviously they're in the southern hemisphere, so all their seasons are opposite to us. Summer is between December and February. Your clients can expect warm to hot weather with humidity in some parts. It's obviously a great time to visit because there are lots of outdoor events and festivals. And for an example, an average temperature in Sydney during summer might be 27 degrees. Obviously, with climate change, there's a lot of exceptions to this, and I'm sure you've heard about 40-degree temperatures and, of course, bushfires, but an average is about 27%. So winter is between June and August. Australian winters are much more mild than we experience here in the Northern Hemisphere. You will not experience snow in the cities, although in the southeast corner of Australia, there are a couple of small ski hills. There's usually plenty of sunshine and the temperature remains relatively mild during the day. However, nighttime temperatures can drop, so it's recommended that visitors bring a jacket or a coat. Of course, desert regions such as Alice Springs experience very high temperatures during the summer. And the winter, the desert seasons are usually quite mild, but nighttime can get very cold with freezing temperatures. So let's talk about the tropical zone. Again, this is the region above the Tropic of Capricorn. There are basically two seasons here. We have the tropical summer and we have the dry season. You'll find up in this area, of course, Cairns, Darwin, the top end, Broome, and the Kimberley regions. So tropical summer is November to March. You can expect very hot and humid conditions during this time. There can be large tropical downpours. They tend to occur later in the afternoon and don't tend to last too long, but the downpours can be quite heavy. Swimming in the ocean outside of protective stinger nets is not recommended during their summer. Some parts of national parks may not be accessible during this time because water levels might cut off some roads, but it's not necessarily a bad time to visit as the area is, of course, very green and lush and waterfalls are at their highest. So the other season is the dry season, April to October. Expect perfect conditions, warm, dry weather, low humidity. And again, it's a great time to visit because of all the outdoor festivals and events. My personal time to visit is May. Every time I've been to Australia, it's been in and around May, and I've been to every state and territory, and I've always had amazing weather. So that's just my personal tip. Don't hold me to it. Don't send your clients in May, and if there's a monsoon or something, call me and say, Paul, you're lying. So, okay, we're going to quickly talk about the capital cities. Let's just, in your head, you can think about which ones you think are in each state and territory. So the first one is a gimme. Melbourne is the capital of the state of Victoria. And the state of New South Wales is, of course, Sydney. And as I click, you'll see where the cities are on the map. The capital of Tasmania is Hobart. The capital of WA, or Western Australia, is Perth. The capital of Australia, which we call the Australian Capital Territory, is Canberra. The Northern Territory's capital is Darwin. The South Australia capital is Adelaide, home to all the amazing wine, well, a lot of the amazing wine regions like the Barossa and McLaren Vale. And Queensland, the capital is Brisbane. So just switching gears a little bit to talk about what motivates a consumer to choose a vacation. And I just want to kind of go through a few reasons. And of course, safety and security is probably number one, especially these days. Value for money, attractions and unique things to do, great food and wine, natural beauty and wildlife. And yes, to be honest, there's a little smidgen of truth in all of us that we want bragging rights. And of course, Australia is an aspirational destination to visit, and people love to talk with people who visited Australia. And of course, Australia offers all these aspects and a lot more. So Tourism Australia regularly conducts consumer research in the 15 international markets where we have representation. So what we always want to do is we want to see where Australia ranks with consumer sentiments versus our competitive destinations. So here, again, a few interesting points I think you might find interesting. So Australia is consistently voted one of the most desirable destinations on Earth to visit. It's on most people's top 10 bucket list. Australia is the #1 destination associated with being safe and secure. Australia is rated #1 with having world-class nature and wildlife. I mean, of course, they have wildlife you're never going to see anywhere else other than maybe in the zoo. Australia holds the top position for world-class aquatic and coastal experiences. And Australia maintains an association with good food and wine, along with Italy, France, and Japan. Although I don't really think of Japan as don't think of them as wine, a wine producing country. But anyway, so here's a couple of updates. Sydney and the Sydney area, even though like here in Canada, Australia has been in numerous lockdowns throughout the last 2 years. Construction and things have just been progressing along. So let's take a few or look at a few changes. I'm not sure if you knew, but Sydney Harbour is actually considered a national park. And they've built new walking trails. There are guided walking tours. There are new cruise excursions to national park islands. And the Sydney area is just making the harbour even more beautiful and accessible and easy to explore than it was ever before. Excuse me. A new precinct is called Barangaroo, and this is a great example of the Sydney Harbour redevelopment. It's located within a really easy distance, a walking distance, or a ferry ride from the city centre hotels. And this new precinct is near Darling Harbour, if you're familiar with that. It includes a nature reserve where you can take guided walks with an Indigenous guide. Of course, there are shops, and it also houses some of Sydney's most exciting new restaurants and dining options. This is a nice place to have dinner, I think. At the Barangaroo Ferry Terminal, you're going to find some of Sydney's hottest new restaurants. They've got something here for all tastes and budgets. And of course, many offer outdoor dining and beautiful water views. So Barangaroo also offers a wide range of coffee bars, bakeries, cafes, and specialty stores to explore. Anison Restaurant, which is this one here pictured, offers an interesting combination of specialty Australian and Turkish cuisine. And right now it's actually currently rated as one of the top restaurants in Sydney. The Botanic House restaurant is located in the beautiful gardens of the Royal Botanic Sydney Gardens. And they offer a fresh take on Australia Asian cuisine. This is a great location for special occasions. It's actually a great place to watch the Sydney New Year's Eve fireworks, or perhaps combine a breakfast, lunch, or dinner here, and then have an Aboriginal walking tour in the area and in and around the gardens, or maybe add on a Sydney Opera House tour for your clients. Aria Restaurant is located at Circular Quay, which is obviously right across from the Sydney Opera House. And this is where you can catch ferries from the Sydney CBD, Central Business District, over to like Taronga Zoo, Bondi Beach, Manly. So obviously it has an amazing view of the Sydney Opera House and Sydney Harbour Bridge. It offers delicious Australian cuisine, and the menus are designed to fit in with performances at the Sydney Opera House. Sydney also offers some great tours for serious foodie types, or people who just love to learn about a destination through its food. There's a company called Ultimately Sydney, and they operate the Taste of Sydney tour, which is perfect for first-time visitors. It offers an introduction to Sydney, plus guests can have the chance to meet and dine with some of Sydney's best food producers, restaurants, and cafes along the way. Love this picture, beautiful. So just north of Sydney is Jonah's Restaurant. It's located at Whale Beach. This is a really romantic lunch spot and is ideal for honeymooners, or maybe people who are celebrating anniversaries or any other kind of special occasion. You can actually catch the seaplane from Rose Bay, which is near downtown Sydney. And then your clients can enjoy a scenic flight over Sydney Harbour and along the coast to Sydney's beautiful northern beaches. There's a sightseeing company called Sydney Seaplanes. They offer various fly dine packages, and they include some of the best restaurants in the area, including Jonah's and also Cottage Point Restaurant. Bondi Iceberg's Dining Room and Bar offers indoor and outdoor dining with panoramic views of famous Bondi Beach. You can see to the background there, and overlooks the historic Iceberg swimming pool. The restaurant's located at the start of the Bondi to Koji Beach Coastal Walk. This is an easy clifftop coastal walk. It runs about 2.8 miles or about 6 kilometers, and it offers stunning ocean views from sandstone cliffs, local beaches, rock pools, and parklines. This coastal walk is a great way to walk off a lunch or perhaps jet lag. Another major project is the new Western Sydney Airport, which is located halfway between Sydney and the Blue Mountains. The Blue Mountains is a region about 2.5 hours northwest of Sydney. This is due to open in 2026. The airport's going to be curfew free, which means it can operate 24 hours a day. It'll be linked to the city by a fast rail service, and the hopes are it'll alleviate congestion at busy Sydney International Airport. Right now, it looks like all North American airlines are going to continue using Sydney International Airport, and they're going to move short-haul airlines to the new airport. So the Sydney Opera House, with the Central Business District in the background and Circular Quay, it's been busy revamping its food and restaurant offerings. One of the most popular is their new tour and dine experience. This is for adventurous foodies and includes a 1-hour guided tour of the Sydney Opera House, followed by a relaxing lunch by the harbour, enjoying Australian-inspired cuisine at the Opera Kitchen. The tour runs Thursday to Monday. I think there are 3 different times it departs around the noon hour. And the cost is, I believe, $80 per adult, which is not bad for a tour plus an amazing lunch at the Opera Kitchen. Sydney's main street, George Street, has been transformed by a new pedestrian walkway and a light rail system, which opened back in December of 2019. The new rail system travels from Circular Quay right through the city centre to the eastern suburbs of Randwick. Tickets for the light rail can be purchased on board by credit card, so very simple. Mara Lodge is new. It's less than an hour north of Sydney. It opened mid-2020, and it's Sydney's newest luxury wilderness escape on the Hawkesbury River. It's an adult-only retreat, and it's being designed to deliver an authentic Australian nature experience. It's surrounded by native bushland and right on the Hawkesbury River, as you can see. It's really boutique, only 14 suites. So only 28 guests can be there at one time. So it offers a real sense of exclusivity. A couple of major upcoming event reminders: Vivid Sydney, Australia's largest festival of light music, will be returning finally in 2022. Obviously, it's been on hold during the pandemic. The dates this year are May 27th through to June 18th. And for the first time, excuse me, Sydney will be hosting World Pride next year. The dates are February 17th to March 5th. It's going to take place the same time as Sydney's famous LGBTQ Mardi Gras. And an interesting fact, this is the first time that World Pride has ever been hosted in the Southern Hemisphere. And also another big event coming up next year is the FIFA Women's World Cup. It's going to be held in both Australia and New Zealand. Again, this is the first time the event's been held in the Southern Hemisphere. So the games will take place in 9 host cities between the two countries. But the final game will be played in Sydney. And the dates are July 20th to August 20th, again next year. And there are going to be 32 teams participating from around the world. So I hope you enjoyed a quick update on Sydney. So let's move on. Just a couple of quick facts that you can dazzle your clients with. Look at that beach, it's beautiful. Australia is home to over 10,000 beaches. And if you were to visit a beach a day, it would take you 27 years. Personally, I'm up for the challenge. Another fact that I think is really cool is the Great Barrier Reef is the only living organism in the world that's visible from space. It stretches over 1,400 miles along the Queensland coastline, which is about the same length as the west coast of the US. So last but not least, let's take a look at our new award-winning Aussie Specialist Program, or ASP for short, as we call it. The program's actually been around for over 32 years. It's one of the oldest destination training programs in the world. It's been completely revamped, and is on a brand new platform. We also regularly survey agents who have qualified on the program just to get their feedback on what they thought of it. And our last survey, and most of them are always around this percentage, but 99%, they had a 99% satisfaction rate. Agents told us that it's fun to do, entertaining, and they, after taking the qualification program, without even going on and doing other modules, they feel that they're already more confident in selling Australia. So a few great selling features of the ASP program are that there's a lot of great video clips to watch. There aren't pages and pages of text to read. You can do the program at your own leisure because you can stop and start the training whenever you want. However, if you want to sit down and do the qualifying curriculum from start to finish in one sitting, it now only takes about an hour and a half, 90 minutes. Prior to being revamped, it was probably close to 3 hours. So it's really not a huge time commitment. However, the benefits are really good. Actually, on average, agents tell us that they sell 35% higher value bookings to Australia after qualifying as an Aussie Specialist. So it's really simple to register for the program. Simply visit aussiespecialist.com and sign up. It only takes a couple of minutes. So the new site features shorter modules, interactive modules, instructor-led classes, product training videos, itinerary suggestions. You can also order collateral for your clients, and there's lots more. One feature I think that being an Aussie Specialist that you're really going to like is that now you can earn badges. And you earn reward points as you complete your training levels. And all qualified Aussie specialists get access to an online reward store where you can redeem your points for really cool merchandise from Australia. I think you're really going to like the new Aussie Specialist Program. And we really think that it's important for agents to upgrade their knowledge and skills so they can confidently sell Australia. If you haven't been to Australia or sold much of it before, it's definitely different than selling a lot of other destinations. I mean, it is really a destination that you should invest a little bit of time in getting to know. But another advantage of being an Aussie specialist, a qualified Aussie specialist, is that you get a chance to apply to attend Quabbery West, which is an amazing event that we hold in Australia every 2 years for ASP agents. And at Quabbery, there are training sessions, there are special events. You get to meet, I think it's usually about 100 or more Australian sellers face to face. And you also participate in a pre or post FAM. Another thing is that usually every night, a different state or territory hosts an amazing party. So that in itself is the reason to go. Another one of our new additions is the virtual FAM Hub. This is an amazing section where you can visually experience destinations in Australia without leaving your home or office. And just wrapping up, one more two slides to go. You'll also be invited to participate in 2 webinars each month. So that'll help, excuse me, keep you up to date with everything that's new in Australia. And once you're qualified, you get to download a certificate that's suitable for framing. You get to use the Aussie Specialist logo on your website and your email signature or marketing collateral. If we're coming close to a city near you, you get invited to exclusive industry events, training, FAMs, and you also get access to the Aussie store where you can order maps, brochures, posters, and also download e-versions of that. And finally, as an ASP agent, you can join our private member-only Facebook page where we regularly post interviews, games, we have contests, and other fun chances of winning great Aussie-inspired prizes. So I think I went a couple minutes longer. I was ad-libbing a little more than I do. But like I said, there you have it. There's nothing like Australia. I'll bring my camera back on. Excuse me. On your screen, you'll see the AussieSpecialist.com website. The hotline you can use if you ever have any general questions about Australia, or if you have any problems getting on the Aussie Specialist website. There's a big long email there for COVID information, but the faster way of getting it is to just go to australia.com. And then I've also put, oh no, yeah. So if you need to get a hold of us, you can do so through hotline at tourismaustralia.com. So that's it. One last cute little picture. Where is it? Come on, there you go. Who doesn't love koala bears?
Great way to end it off. Thank you so much, Paul, for that great presentation. I think agents got a lot of information from beginner to expert, so that was amazing. So now we're just going to go through a couple of questions. Agents, if you have any questions, make sure to just put them in the box below. I did see one question that we already had answered, but in case people can't read the chat box, they're watching it later. Someone was wondering if someone does decide to drive in Australia, are they able to use their Canadian license?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I guess to add to that question, what documents are absolutely required to travel to Australia? I know you mentioned it earlier, but just to have the list kind of in their minds. Yeah,
it's you need to have an ETA visa, electronic visa. And again, it's $20 Australian. It only takes a few minutes to apply for. And you need to have obviously a valid passport. Actually, the only one who doesn't need a visa is a resident of New Zealand. Every other country needs a visa. So a visa, a valid passport, and also COVID information like vaccination status. And you have to download the app to your phone just like we do here in Canada. Excuse me.
All right, perfect. One of your insider tips was to go in May because of the weather. So I wanted to ask if you have any special place that holds somewhere in your heart, or something someone can't miss if they're suggesting their clients go to Australia.
Wow,
Big
that's a
question, I know.
okay. One of the coolest things I've done in Australia is in Ningaloo, which is in the northwest corner of Western Australia. So it's you go to Perth and then you fly, I think it's about 2.5 hours to the northwest corner to Ningaloo. Well, you fly into Exmouth, and then from there is Ningaloo Reef, and you can go swimming with the whale sharks.
Ooh.
Really, really cool experience. I mean, these whale sharks can be 30, 35 feet long. The day I went, it was because you go outside the reef, so it's a bit rougher. So I would recommend it for people who are confident in the water, fairly strong swimmers. And if you're booking clients to do a whale shark experience, they are tame, by the way. They don't eat people. they only eat plankton. So there's nothing to worry about. But if you're going to book a company for your clients to go swimming with the whale sharks, book one with a spotter plane. So you're out on the boat and you want to have a spotter plane because they fly overhead, and when they see a whale shark, they radio your boat and they tell you to go to a certain location.
Okay.
So you see it. Because otherwise, a lot of companies just are out there bobbing around hoping a whale shark happens to come by. But if you go with a company that has a spotter plane, they actually get you in the water. They position the boat ahead of where the whale shark's coming. So it gives you time to get in the water so you see the whale shark going by.
Wow, that sounds really awesome.
Yeah,
So
that was a cool experience. The other one I quickly is in Uluru. You can do dinner out in the desert at the Sounds of Silence dinner. So from your hotel, they pick you up, they take you to Camel Depot. You get on camels and you take a camel train through the outback, and that you get off, and you have wine and champagne and canapes, and the sun is slowly starting to sink. So you see the colors on Uluru changing. Then, excuse me, you walk down a path and you come to a clearing with these beautifully set tables with candles everywhere. And there's somebody playing the didgeridoo. And then you sit under the stars and have this amazing dinner out in the outback.
Oh, that just sounds idyllic. It's so perfect. I can't even imagine a better experience.
It's really cool.
Yeah, for sure. Another question someone has was just about FAM tours coming up. I know you mentioned with the Aussie Specialist Program, that's one way to experience FAMs, but I guess if you could just elaborate on that for the region.
We don't do FAMs very regularly. When we do, we often do them, they're pretty specialized. So we might do an adventure-based FAM. So we look for agents who specialize in that. Or we might do a luxury-focused FAM. So again, we look for agents who specialize in that. But a lot of tour operators, when they do a FAM, they usually ask if you're an Aussie specialist. If you're a qualified Aussie specialist, they may ask you to provide proof, or they may ask us to check our list, because they want to make sure that people they're taking to Australia, because it's a huge opportunity, they want to make sure that people are actually interested in selling Australia, not just wanting to kind of go on a cheap holiday.
Exactly. So you heard it, agents. Make sure to check out the Aussie Specialist Program. Sheila's just asking if you can quickly go over the visa process. That's available on the website, or where can she reach that? She just said she wanted to repeat it quickly because she had trouble logging on. So,
well, if you look at that long email address there, that will take you to it. If you go to australia.com, you can also access the visa information through there. If you have any problems, you can just email me. My email address should be there, but it's not there. It's paul at Vox, VOX, international.com. Paul at voxinternational.com if you have any trouble, and I can give you links.
Perfect. All right. So it doesn't look like we have any more questions, but I wanted to leave you with the final word, just to excite agents on booking their clients to Australia, because this presentation was so amazing. Just the final send off for the agents.
Oh, yes. Well, we have. We're going to be doing a drawing in the next day or so of everyone from everyone who participated for the 45 minutes or whatever, or at least for my webinar portion, 40 minutes. We're going to give away 2 gift cards. We're going to use giftcard.ca. So rather than telling you it's going to be an Amazon card or a Visa gift card, we use giftcard.ca. So that way we supply you with an access code. You go in and you can pick whatever kind of gift card you'd like. So 2 lucky winners will win $50.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Paul, for coming on today.
Thank you, Megan.
Thank you so much. There's lots of thank yous in the chat as well. If you missed any part of the webinar, make sure to check it out on our Travelweek Learning Center. And we'll also keep the most up-to-date information on Australia on travelweek.ca. So make sure to check both of those resources out, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks.
Great.
Thanks all.
Thank you, Megan. Thanks everyone for tuning in.
Bye.